Okay, Mike Irish.
Mike Irish.
That's a great name.
I hope that's his real name. He says, how do I encourage discernment for religious life for my daughter without pushing it on her? Here's what you say. You say, you are welcome to marry a man if you can find one that loves you more than Jesus Christ. That's what you say.
Uh-huh.
But what would you say?
Not that. Well, I know that this isn't possible for everyone, but if you could just like expose your girls to meeting nuns, right?
Yeah.
Or sisters, because I think that's the biggest thing is like, I was so not open to it for a long time because I just hadn't met any nuns, and I just assumed because I'm an extrovert, because I'm like all of these things that we had all the misconceptions, right? Like that, oh, clearly I'm not called to be a nun. Like there aren't nuns like me. And so to just get your girls to realize that nuns are normal people.
Yeah.
Normal's a strong word. But that they're like, that we're real people, I guess.
I think also...
Or show them interviews like this. You know?
Encouraging also...
Maybe not this one.
The biggest thing is to teach your children how to pray because that's the Lord, like... That's the most important thing because the Lord's going to draw them to their vocation. So if you're having a strong, as well as I think visiting communities, but like fostering a family prayer life, but an individual prayer life, like take her to adoration, teach her how to sit in silence and listen to the Lord. Like that's who's going to woo her heart if she's meant to be a religious. So,
and it takes a great amount of trust that like, yes, you can foster it, you can encourage it, you can expose her to it, but like ultimately it's not you, it's Jesus. And so,
we have a local supporter who asks a similar question, Joshua James King. He says, how do we get more parents
also a great name.
to see becoming a religious is a glorious life path? So many Catholics today oppose their kids from doing it. And I'll say something about that, and I'd love your take on that. But, you know, whenever I say to my daughters, like, yeah, maybe our Lord is calling you to be a nun, and wouldn't that be beautiful? It's like, I don't want to do that. Like, okay, well, then you don't have to do that. Like, the Father wants you to have life and life to the full, and he knows where that is. And so you make a beautiful wife as well. I think certainly just reminding them they have this option at this point is a good idea. I also took this from Christopher West. When he would pray with his children at night, he would say something like the following. So if I'm to pray with Peter, I might say, Father, I thank you for making Peter a boy. May he grow up to be a strong man to give his life away as a priest or a husband. And then I say the equivalent for my daughters. And I just like that reinforcement that your life is to be given away. And here's two beautiful ways in which you could do that. But what's your opinion? How do we get more parents to see becoming religious as a glorious life path?
I think actually it's Mother Gabriella's answer for the parents is like, y'all need to pray. Because if you're not actually seeing the scope of eternity and you're not actually seeing like the profundity of what is happening here, and you're not seeing the eternal rewards for this,
it
then as a
doesn't
parent,
make sense,
like
right?
absolutely. You know,
my mum would say to me when I said I wanted to be a priest, why don't you just become a social worker?
Yeah.
Because to her, a priest is a social worker who can have kids.
Yeah.
Bless her.
And I think that like, you know, this isn't, I'm not just trying to have a shameless plug here, but like, Father Michael O'Loughlin and I do this podcast, What God Is Not. And we've done 2 episodes, one on which we interviewed his parents. I interviewed his parents, and then one in which he interviewed my parents. And I think it was really, really beautiful to see kind of the differences, especially because my mom was very open with sharing like her struggles about when I was discerning. And I think that when parents find out that their child is discerning celibacy in particular, right? Like we have in the East, we have married priests, and like that's not as much of a struggle for people. Like what they really mean is you're going to be celibate. It's not really about like you're being a priest. It's that you're going to be celibate.
That's right.
And when they find out that their kid is discerning celibacy, there's often struggle and pain that comes from that. And I had always thought of it as like, well, sure, it's got to be hard to know that like your kid is never going to live near you unless you move there. And you're not going to have grandkids from at least that child, and so on and so forth. And like, yes, that's hard. But what I realized even more recently, I think the greater thing with my own mom, I mean, there were the things of like, I'm now calling a new woman mother, right? I'm given a new name, and like my mom is the one who named me. And like, those were the things I didn't consider. And so we have to be sensitive to that. But also, like, the thing that I didn't think about is, like, parents want their kids to be happy. And if this isn't the most important thing to you, if you're not praying as a parent and you're not seeing the gravity of all of this, like, then you can't imagine your kid being happy in this vocation.
Yes.
And that's what it was like for my mom. She knows I love children. She knows how happy she is to be a mom. And she couldn't imagine, like, my happiness without those things. And so it was like, there was some of it that was about herself and her own happiness and her own struggles. But I realized much more of it was about, like, her wanting me to be happy and fearing that I wouldn't be.
Yes.
And so, like, if you're not praying and you're not realizing, like, if you're not actually trusting that these vocations are fulfilling, that needs to be the step before anything else. Like, you need to trust that, like, these vocations do fulfill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to know that, like, it's not just, if everybody just says somebody else's parent needs to be the one to give up a child, then great. Like, it's like, oh, the Lord's asking something of me. Like, but it's also to be gentle with yourself. I think there was a really profound and beautiful advice someone gave me, like, just as you've been, like, me as the child has been called to be a nun, like, my parents have been called to be the parents of a nun. And so, like, they have to grow in their vocation as much as I have to grow in mine. And so to be gentle with yourself that, like, even if you're not immediately excited, there's probably other decisions that you weren't excited about for your kid. But that the Lord's not asking you to say, like, all the yeses and once, but to say, like, yes, I'll walk with you in this. Like, yes, I will. And allow yourself to be transformed with your son or daughter as they discern this, and be open to God's will for you as much as for them in that vocational discernment.
Especially because we, like, as the children, have to remember that, like, I had a long time discerning before I told my parents I was discerning, right? And so,
Right,
like,
precisely,
they have to also be granted that period to also, like, accept that, you know? So, yeah.
Well, this question goes along with this. This comes from Tracy KD on Locals. She says, as the mother of 2 young girls and another girl due any day now, I wondered what your parents did to inspire or encourage you to choose your vocations as you were growing up. And my follow-up to that would be, if they didn't do much to inspire and encourage you, maybe since you started discerning or since you joined the convent, they did some things that were helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my parents have been a great support in anything that I desired to do. My mom always said, you can do anything. Like, she was always like, I would be like, Mom, what should I be when I grow up? And she's like, you can be whatever it is that you like, you can do anything. Like, she was always supportive. And so I think that open, and she also she had a lot of nicknames for me as a kid. One of them was Sister Mary Holy Water. I don't think that actually had an effect, but it was cute. It's a cute anecdote, but I think just that complete openness, to allowing me to explore whatever I would desire or whatever I felt God was calling me to, which I don't think they had an intuition that it would be religious life, monastic life. But that really helped. It wasn't like I was pigeonholed into, like, I have to be a doctor, or I have to be an engineer, I have to do this. It was like, no, pursue what you desire. And that really, I think that was a real, like, fertile soil for that vocation to grow. And since then, it's been just embracing my community. Like, my mom has just very much jumped in, and she's just become a mom to all of the sisters. And she went with us to the Holy Land, and we were there, and we visited this other monastery. Like, every monastery needs a Kathy, like, and her name's Kathy. And so, it's just beautiful to watch her grow, and give the gift of herself to all my sisters as well as to me, and to love them. And I think that's also helped me to grow in my vocation, to know that my mom's love, my parents' love, is really being poured out to my whole community.
Thank you very much for watching that clip. Before you go, do us a favor, click like, click subscribe, and if this really meant something to you, help us out by sharing it.